Sometimes when people read the Bible, they look at things without verifying and studying it. And I've done this before too. But an example of this is in the New Testament, where people, they read a place where it says that a prophecy was fulfilled, and they don't look to see where that prophecy came from. And they don't go into the Old Testament to look at the context of everything that's going on, around that prophecy. And people may not think that they need to do that because people, we believe that we're dealing with the infallible word of God, right? But when you actually get to have a better understanding of the Old Testament, and you start studying and comparing the Old Testament to the New Testament, you can see that it actually isn't, because there are places where they contradict each other. And I've discussed some of these topics in previous videos of mine. So what we're going to do now is go to Acts chapter 3, and we're going to discuss one of these topics that, where the New Testament and Old Testament do not line up. So we're going to go to Acts 3, verse 20. And it says, "And he shall send Jesus Christ, which before was preached unto you, whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things, which God hath spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people." So what we have here is a place where it's saying that Jesus actually fulfilled this prophecy that Moses spake of in the Old Testament, right? So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1. And we're going to look at the context surrounding this prophecy. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel and Laban and Hazeroth and Dizahab." So the main thing that I'm trying to bring out of here is that Moses is speaking to all Israel. And notice it says on this side of Jordan in the wilderness. So this is before they cross Jordan to go into the land. And remember, he's getting ready to die. And right now he's speaking what the Most High commanded him to speak to the children of Israel. So with that in mind, and with that understanding, we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 18. We're going to start at verse 9. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 9. And this is where the prophecy is about the prophet like unto Moses that Acts 3 refers to. So let's read it. Deuteronomy 8, verse 9. We're going to start a little bit before it to get some context. So it says, "When thou art come into the land which Yahuwah thy Elohim giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer." So notice it says, "When thou art come into the land which Yahuwah Elohim giveth thee." So he's giving the children of Israel, this is Moses speaking to the children of Israel, remember? He's telling them, giving them commands of the Most High about what they should do when they go into the land of Israel. So this is the context of this passage. So let's keep reading. Verse 12 says, "For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahuwah. And because of these abominations, Yahuwah thy Elohim doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with Yahuwah thy Elohim. For these nations which thou shalt possess, hearken unto observers of times and unto diviners. But as for thee, Yahuwah thy Elohim hath not suffered thee so to do." Now let's get into the prophecy. It says, "Yahuwah thy Elohim will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him shall ye hearken." So right here we see we have to notice some key things that is in this prophecy. Like we read before, there's going to be a prophet that's like Moses. But notice it says, "from the midst of thee." Okay? So it says from the midst of thee. So remember who he's talking to. He's talking to the children of Israel. He's talking to the congregation of the children of Israel. So he's saying from the midst of you, because thee means you. He's saying from the midst of you, you was going to raise up a prophet. And that's who he's speaking to. So when you get that context and you get that understanding what's going on here, you can picture that this would actually be someone who's going to be going into the land with the children of Israel. And, this prophet is from among their brethren. So this is an Israelite. And says that you're supposed to listen to him. So now, verse 16 says, according to all that thou desirest of Yahuwah thy Elohim in Horeb, in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahuwah my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire anymore, that I die not. So this is going to help with some context, because he's saying that when, the children of Israel were getting commands directly from the Most High, and they didn't want to hear the voice of Yahuwah, so let's keep reading and see what happened because of that. Verse 17 says, and Yahuwah said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. So because the children of Israel did not want to directly hear the Most High's voice, now Yahuwah said he's going to raise them up a prophet so he can put his words in that prophet's mouth, and he's going to tell the children of Israel all that the Most High commands him to speak. Okay, so this is why the Most High is raising up a prophet, because the children of Israel didn't directly want to speak to the Most High. And Moses was one of these was a prophet like that, to where the Most High spoke to him and Moses spoke to the people. So it makes sense that these same people who, received the commands of the Most High, that they were going to need another prophet that's going to rise up after Moses, who was also going to receive the Most High's words and speak directly to them. It doesn't make sense for this to be talking about somebody who's going to be coming way in the future, thousands of years later in the future, because this prophet was going to be from the midst of the children of Israel, and he's speaking to the children of Israel at that time, Moses was. And the reason why his prophet was going to be coming is because the children of Israel didn't want to directly speak to the Most High. So this is why, Moses was risen up. Then there's going to be a prophet right after Moses that's going to be risen up. And we'll see who that's talking about. So let's keep reading. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. So it says, notice how it says, basically, if you don't listen to that prophet, the Most High is going to require it of you. Now, what does that mean? Well, when you actually go into the Apocrypha, or not the Apocrypha, but the Septuagint, it says something interesting. So what we're going to do now is go into the same verse, Deuteronomy 18, verse 19, and we're going to look at it in the Septuagint. It says, and whatever man shall not hearken to whatsoever words that prophet shall speak in my name, I will take vengeance on him. So the Most High said he's going to take vengeance on whoever doesn't listen to that prophet. So that's what it means when it says I will require it of him. So that doesn't sound like it's going to be anything good. And we'll see what that's talking about also when we identify who this prophet is. So now, some more points that we need to understand is that if you actually believe this is a future prophecy about Jesus, and if you also believe that Jesus is God, then why is the Most High having to put his words into Jesus' mouth if he's his prophet, right? Because he says he's going to put his words into that prophet's mouth. If that prophet is Jesus, why would the Most High have to put his words into his mouth? Shouldn't Jesus already know the Most High's words since he's the same as him? So that doesn't even make sense, okay? As we can see with the context, this is a people getting ready to go into the land of Israel, and the Most High is raising them up a prophet. So when we actually look at all this, we can see that there's going to be a prophet that was like Moses, and the reasons why he's going to be like Moses was because the Most High was going to put his words in that prophet's mouth. He's going to speak what the prophet is going to speak what the Most High commands him to speak, and Israel's supposed to listen to him. Okay, and he's also going to be an Israelite, right? So what we're going to see now is that this prophet is actually referring to Joshua, and it's not referring to Jesus. So let's go to Numbers chapter 27, verse 15. Numbers chapter 27, verse 15. And we're going to explain why this is Joshua. Let's see this. Numbers 27:15 says, and Moses spake unto Yahuwah, saying, let Yahuwah the Elohim of the spirits of all flesh set a man over the congregation, which may go out before them, and which may go in before them, and which may lead them out, and which may bring them in, that the congregation of Yahuwah be not as sheep which have no shepherd. So right now, Moses was actually leading the children of Israel, but you have to understand that he was getting ready to die because he couldn't go into the land with the children of Israel, right? And now he's asking for a new leader. Verse 18 says, and Yahuwah said unto Moses, take thee Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay thine hand upon him, and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him charge in their sight. And thou shalt put some of thine honor upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. So notice it says he wants the children of Israel to actually listen to Joshua. Isn't that something that we've read in Deuteronomy 18 where Israel's supposed to hearken unto that prophet? So he's telling Moses to give Joshua charge. And let's go down to verse 22. It says, and Moses did as Yahuwah commanded him, and he took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest and before the congregation. And he laid hands upon him and gave him charge as Yahuwah commanded by the hand of Moses. And so he gave Joshua charge. And another thing we need to look at is that Joshua, the Most High even said that Joshua, it says that he has the Spirit. He says he's a man in whom is the Spirit. That's another thing too. And also Moses is giving Joshua his honor. So these are some key things that are setting Joshua apart. So now let's continue. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 31, and we're going to go to verse 14. Deuteronomy 31, verse 14. It says, and Yahuwah said unto Moses, behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. And Yahuwah appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud. And the pillar of the cloud stood over the door of the tabernacle. So notice how it says Yahuwah is appearing. And this is something that the Most High commanded Moses to do, to give Joshua charge. So he's appearing. Now let's see what happened. Let's skip down to verse 23. It says, and he gave Joshua the son of Nun a charge and said, be strong and of a good courage, for thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swear unto them, and I will be with thee. So Yahuwah is actually giving Joshua, he's telling him that he's going to be in charge. And he also says that he's going to lead the children of Israel into the land of Israel, right? And he's going to be with Joshua. And we'll see how he was actually with Joshua. So now we're going to go into some scripture that people try to use to say that Joshua was not this prophet, and that the prophecy of Deuteronomy 18 was talking about a future person to come thousands and thousands of years later. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 34. We're going to go to verse 5. Deuteronomy 34 verse 5 says, so Moses, the servant of Yahuwah, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of Yahuwah. So now let's skip down to verse 9. And Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom. So remember, the Most High said that Joshua had the spirit. So right here it's saying that Joshua had the spirit of wisdom. For Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel hearkened unto him and did as Yahuwah commanded Moses. So remember when Yahuwah said that the children of Israel are supposed to be obedient unto Joshua? Well, right here is notice how it's saying that they are listening to Joshua. And now we're going to get into the place where some people try to make it seem like the prophecy of Deuteronomy 18 is talking, well, can be talking about Joshua. And we're going to see if that's true. So let's go to verse 10. It says, "And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom Yahuwah knew face to face." So right here we can see a place where it seems to say that it says there arose not a prophet in Israel since in Israel like unto Moses. So the problem that a lot of people have with this is that they stop right there and they don't continue. But when you read scriptures like this, it's important to actually read the context. So right here, if you do that, you'll see that it's saying that there arose not a prophet in Israel like unto Moses, whom Yahuwah knew face to face. And also in all the signs and wonders that he did, and the mighty hand and the great terror and all that. So it's basically saying there's not a prophet since in Israel like Moses who did all those things, who Yahuwah knew face to face, and do all those signs and wonders and stuff like that. Basically, there's no correlation to the prophecy of Deuteronomy 18 with this. In Deuteronomy 18, when you read that, the reason why this new prophet is going to be like Moses is because Israel's supposed to listen to him. He was going to receive the Most High's words. He was going to speak with the Most High, command him to speak. And, he was going to also be an Israelite, right? But, like I said before, when you actually read this, it's talking about there wasn't a prophet in Israel anymore whom Yahuwah knew face to face, who do all those signs and miracles and everything. But that doesn't correlate to Deuteronomy 18, because Deuteronomy 18 is saying the prophet that's going to come is going to be someone, it gives you the stipulation, someone whom Israel is going to listen to. He's going to give the Most High's words. He's going to speak those words. He's going to be from the midst of the children of Israel, right? So that's actually what makes Joshua this prophet. And we're going to see that. Let's go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 1. We're going to go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "Now after the death of Moses, the servant of Yahuwah, it came to pass that Yahuwah spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses my servant is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel." So now Joshua's actually leading the children of Israel. And notice how the Most High is speaking to Joshua. Right? So now the Most High speaking to him, just like he spoke to Moses. So let's skip down to verse 5. It says, "There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so will I be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee." So just like he was with Moses, he's going to be with Joshua. So this is already giving you some, comparing the two. And this shows you why Joshua is that prophet. So let's skip down to verse 12. It says, "And to the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and to the half tribe of Manasseh, spake Joshua, saying, Remember the word which Moses, the servant of Yahuwah, commanded you, saying, You, your Elohim, have given you the rest, and have given you this land." Now let's skip down to verse 16. And in verse 14, 15, he's giving the children of Israel commands, right? And he's telling them what to do. Now let's see what the children of Israel respond with. Verse 16, it says, "And they answered Joshua, saying, All that thou commandest us, we will do, and whithersoever thou sendest us, we will go. According as we hearken unto Moses in all things, so will we hearken unto thee. Only Yahuwah thy Elohim be with thee as he was with Moses." So right here is saying that the children of Israel are even saying themselves that they are going to hearken or listen to Joshua just like to listen to Moses. And this fulfills one of the parts of Deuteronomy 18 where they're supposed to listen to that prophet. So let's go to verse 18. It says, "Whosoever he be that doth rebel against thy commandment, and will not hearken unto thy words and all that thou commandest him, he shall be put to death. Only be strong and of a good courage." So here is saying, remember we also read where it says that whoever didn't listen to that prophet, the Most High was going to take vengeance on him, or the Most High was going to require it of him. Right here is saying that whoever doesn't listen to Joshua will be put to death. So this is fulfilling that part of Deuteronomy 18. And also, right here we see that Israel is saying that they're going to listen to Joshua. They're saying that, but let's see if that actually happened. We're going to go to Joshua chapter 3. We're going to go to verse 7. It says, "And Yahuwah said unto Joshua, This day will I begin to magnify thee in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so will I be with thee." So now he's trying to show the children of Israel that this is going to be somebody who the Most High was with, just like how he was with Moses. "And thou shalt command," so the Most High is giving Joshua instructions to give to the children of Israel. So let's keep reading. It says, "And thou shalt command the priests that bear the ark of the covenant, saying, When ye are come to the brink of the water of Jordan, ye shall stand still in Jordan. And Joshua said unto the children of Israel, Come hither and hear the words of Yahuwah, your Elohim." Remember, this prophet was going to speak. Well, he's going to first receive the words of the Most High from the Most High, and we can see that happened. And then he's going to speak them to the children of Israel. And we can see that also happened. So that's also how Joshua fulfills Deuteronomy, that prophet of Deuteronomy 18. So let's keep reading. Verse 10 says, "And Joshua said, Hereby ye shall know that the living Elohim is among you, and that he will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Hivites and the Perizzites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah of all the earth passeth over before you into Jordan. Now therefore take you 12 men out of the tribes of Israel, out of every tribe of man. And it shall come to pass." So when somebody says, "and this shall come to pass," that means that it's going to happen in the future. Joshua is speaking some words that the Most High gave him, and he's telling them what's going to happen in the future. This is showing how he actually is a prophet. He's going to make a prophecy. He's going to tell what's going to happen in the future. He's speaking the Most High's words. So he says in verse 13, "And it shall come to pass as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of the Yahuwah, the Adonai of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of Jordan, that the waters of Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above, and they shall stand upon an heap." So he's telling that this is going to happen in the future when the priests, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of Yahuwah, touch the waters of Jordan. So we're going to see if this happens. Because remember, if the prophecy doesn't happen that a prophet spoke of, then that didn't come from the Most High. But let's see what happened. Verse 14 says, "And it came to pass when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, and as they that bear the ark were come unto Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water, for Jordan overfloweth all his banks at all the time of harvest, that the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon an heap, very far from the city Adam, that is beside Zaretan. And those that came down toward the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, failed, and were cut off, and the people passed over right against Jericho. And the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan, and all the Israelites passed over on dry ground, so all the people were passed clean over Jordan." So this prophecy that Joshua spoke of, which, he received from the Most High, it came true. And let's see what happened after this. We're going to go to Joshua 4, verse 14. "On that day, Yahuwah magnified Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him as they feared Moses all the days of his life." So now they're fearing they're fearing Joshua just like they feared Moses. So this is telling you another similarity between the two. Joshua is this next prophet that the children of Israel were supposed to listen to and obey. And also this prophecy that Joshua spoke of that was going to happen, it's almost similar to something that happened with Moses, like in the Red Sea when the waters were parted. So Joshua said that the waters are going to part when the priests, their feet touched the water of Jordan, and it happened. So now we can see that Joshua was actually that prophet that was spoken of in Deuteronomy 18. Now we're going to go into some outside books, and we're also going to see that it's saying the same thing. And we're going to go into the Apocrypha. Now, the Apocrypha actually should be in the Bible. In the 1611 version, it is in the Bible. So the Apocrypha is a part of the Old Testament. So we're going to go to Ecclesiasticus. Another name for that is Sirach. And we're going to go to chapter 46. Chapter 46, verse 1. So Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 46 and verse 1. It says, Jesus, the son of Nave, was valiant in wars. Okay, so this is talking about Joshua, the son of Nun, right? And was the successor of Moses in prophecies, who according to his name was made great for the saving of the elect of Elohim, and taking vengeance of the enemies that rose up against them, that he might set Israel in their inheritance. So this is telling that Joshua was the successor of Moses in prophecies, which lets you know that he was the prophet that Moses spoke of in Deuteronomy chapter 18, because he's the next prophet that came, right? That was supposed to be over all Israel. So now we're going to get the same thing actually out of the book of Josephus. So let's go to Josephus, and we're going to go into the Antiquities of the Jews, book 4, chapter 7, and section 2. And we're going to go to the beginning of that. So Josephus, the Antiquities of the Jews, book 4, chapter 7, section 2, the beginning. It says, but Moses was now grown old and appointed Joshua for his successor, both to receive directions from God as a prophet and for a commander of the army. So he's supposed to lead the children of Israel, as far as their army, right? But he also was a prophet that received directions from God. So remember when we read in Deuteronomy 18 that the prophet was going to speak the Most High's words? So this is saying the same thing. Joshua received words from the Most High, and he speaks them to the children of Israel. This is what happened. So it says, let's keep reading. It says, if they should at any time stand in need of such a one, and this was done by the command of God, that to him the care of the public should be committed. So now, remember we read that the Most High commanded Joshua to become the new leader of Israel after Moses died. So the Most High was the one who made Joshua this prophet. Okay? So now, we're going to go back into the Bible. We're going to go to Joshua chapter 10. And we're going to look at one of the signs/miracles that Joshua did. So Joshua 10, we're going to go to verse 12. It says, then spake Joshua to Yahuwah in the day when Yahuwah delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that Yahuwah hearkened unto the voice of a man, for Yahuwah fought for Israel. So right here, Joshua's doing a pretty big sign/miracle. And this is something that prophets did. So this right here gives evidence for why Joshua was a prophet that came after Moses. And he was also a prophet like Moses. In many instances, it compares the two. Israel was supposed to listen to Joshua like they listened to Moses. The Most High was going to be with Joshua like how he was with Moses. The prophecy of Deuteronomy chapter 18. When you look at the context of Deuteronomy 18, it's talking about somebody who's going to come after Moses during the children of Israel's time when they're getting ready to go into the land of Israel, because they needed somebody to receive the Most High's words, just like how Moses did, because Moses couldn't go in there with them. Okay, So they needed to get the Most High's words, but it couldn't be from Moses. So that's why Moses rose up, or that's why the Most High rose up Joshua. So now we should now understand that Joshua was his prophet. And when we look at the context and everything, like I was talking about, it's referring to somebody who's going to go into the land of Israel with the children of Israel at that time. And this was Joshua. We found different places where Joshua did signs like Moses. And, the people feared and listened to Joshua, just like they feared and listened to Moses. And Joshua, it says that Joshua was Moses' successor as a prophet in the Apocrypha Josephus. And in the New Testament, it says that the prophet of Deuteronomy was Jesus. But it should be clear now that that prophecy is actually not referring to Jesus, and that it's actually talking about Joshua. And as far as the prophecy in the New Testament, this is actually one of the many prophecies in there that says it's referring to something that was fulfilled, in the New Testament or something like that, but it actually is not. And I plan on actually bringing out many of these lessons just like this to disprove that. So we can see that the prophecy, or that Acts 3 says that Deuteronomy 18 was talking about Jesus. But it should be clear now that it actually wasn't, and that prophecy was talking about Joshua. Shalom.